Thomas Purposive Behaviorism. Good day everyone, my name is Queenie Del Rosario from B. Ed1. Today we will be discussing about Thomas Purposive Behaviorism and its concept. Edward C. Tallman introduced his purposive behaviorism in the early 1920s. Tallman was introduced to behaviorism as it was then being promoted by John B. Watson. Purposive behaviorism has also been referred to as sign learning theory, and it's often seen as the link between behaviorism and cognitive theory. Tallman believed that learning is a cognitive process. Learning involves forming beliefs and obtaining knowledge about the environment and then revealing that knowledge through purposeful and goal-directed behavior. Tolman stated in his sign theory that an organism learns by pursuing signs to a goal. Learning is acquired through meaningful behavior. He stressed the organized aspects of learning. The stimuli which are allowed in are not connected by just simple one-to-one switches to the outgoing responses. Rather, the incoming impulses are usually over and elaborated in the essential control room into a tentative cognitive like map of the environment. And it is this tentative map indicating routes and paths and environmental relationships which finally determine what responses, if any, the animal will finally make. Tallman form of behaviorism stress the relationship between stimuli rather than stimulus response. He said that a new stimulus, the sign, becomes associated with already meaningful stimulus, the significate. Through a series of pairings, there is no need of reinforcement in order to establish learning. Tolman's key concepts. First is the learning is always purposive and goal-directed. Tolman asserted that learning is always purposive and goal-directed. He held the notion that an organism acted or responded for some adaptive purpose. He believed individuals do more merely respond to stimuli. They act on beliefs, attitudes, changing conditions, and they strive towards goals. Tolman saw behavior as holistic, purposive, and cognitive. The second Tolman's key concepts is the cognitive map learning the location of reward. Once an individual has learned where a given kind of reward is located, that location can often be reached by means other than those originally used. The third is the cognitive maps in rats. From his experiment called Cognitive Maps in Rats, where the rats are placed in different locations but the food was on the same location, while on the other group, foods were placed in the different directions. As the result, the group that had the food in the same location performed much better. He found out the organism will select the shortest or easiest path to achieve. The last one is the latent learning. Latent learning is the learning that is not reinforced and not demonstrated until there is motivation to do so. Tolman argued that the rats formed the cognitive map of the maze but did not demonstrate this knowledge until they received reinforcement. In one of the Tolman's classic experiments, he observed the behaviorism of three groups of hungry rats were learning to navigate mazes. The first group always received a food reward at the end of the maze, so the payoff of learning the maze was real and immediate. The second group would never receive any food reward, so there was no incentive to learn to navigate the maze effectively. The third group was like the second group for the first 10 days, but on the 11th day, food was now placed at the end of the maze. As you might expect, when considering the principles of conditioning, the rats in the first group quickly learned to negotiate the maze, while the rats of the second group seemed to wander aimlessly through it. The rats in the third group, however, although they wandered aimlessly for the first 10 days, quickly learned to navigate to the end of the maze as soon as they received food on the 11th day. By the next day, the rats in the third group had coughed in their learning to the rats that had been rewarded from the beginning. It was clear to Tallman that the rat that had been allowed to experience the maze, even without any reinforcement, had nevertheless learned something, and Tallman called this latent learning.